Most players don't lose in Enter the Gungeon because the game is unfair. They lose because they misunderstand what the game is actually asking of them. At first glance, Gungeon looks like a pure reflex test. Bullets everywhere, enemies teleporting, rooms filling with chaos. So players react the only way that feels logical. They move faster, they shoot more, they panic harder. And that is the first mistake. Welcome to the first mistake, a channel about the moments games don't explain. But always remember, the small decisions, the quiet assumptions, the mistakes that decide the run long before the ending. Enter the Gungeon is not about dodging bullets. It's about positioning before bullets exist. But the game never tells you that. It lets you believe you're failing because you're too slow, when in reality you're failing because you're standing in the wrong place 5 seconds earlier. The first mistake usually happens in the very first floor. You enter a room, enemies spawn, you roll immediately. Not because you had to, but because you assumed danger means movement. That single assumption quietly rewires how you play the rest of the run. Rolling feels safe. Rolling feels active. Rolling feels like skill. But rolling is not avoidance. Rolling is commitment. Once you roll, you surrender control. Your direction is locked. Your timing is fixed. Your landing spot is decided. The game doesn't punish rolling itself. It punishes rolling without intent. New players roll at bullets. Better players roll away from bullets. Good players don't roll at all unless they already know where they will land. And the game never explains this hierarchy. So most runs die not in boss fights, but in normal rooms. Because the player burned their positioning the moment they entered. Another mistake feels even smaller. You enter a room and immediately start shooting the nearest enemy. Not the most dangerous one. Not the one controlling space. Just the closest. That decision feels harmless, but it shapes the entire room. Enter the Gungeon is not a damage race. It's a threat management puzzle. Every enemy exists to restrict movement, not to deal damage directly. Sniper deny lanes, shotgunner deny distance, bulletkin deny rhythm. When you shoot the wrong enemy first, you don't die immediately. You just make the room harder 5 seconds later. This is why runs feel randomly unfair. The punishment is delayed. The cause is invisible. By the time you take damage, the mistake is already old. Then there's the most dangerous assumption of all. That better guns will save you. Gungeon gives you powerful weapons very early. Shotguns that melt rooms, beam weapons that erase enemies, explosives that clear screens. And subtly, it teaches you the wrong lesson. You stop respecting positioning because your gun feels strong enough to compensate. For a while, it works. Then the enemies gain health, bullet patterns overlap, rooms get wider. And suddenly, the same habits that carried you now expose you. There is another mistake the game quietly encourages. Treating blanks as emergency tools. Most players hold blanks for the perfect moment, the impossible room, the unavoidable damage. But blanks are not panic buttons. They are position resets. Using a blank early is not wasteful. Using it late is. When a room collapses, when bullets overlap, when movement options disappear, the mistake already happened. A blank doesn't fix bad positioning, it only reveals it. And players who rely on blanks to survive never learn why they needed them in the first place. This is where the most runs truly collapse. Not because the player is underpowered, but because their fundamentals never scaled with the game. The game rewards patience, but it disguises patience as inaction. Standing still feels wrong. Waiting feels unsafe. But high-level play in Gungeon often looks slow, deliberate, almost hesitant. Good players don't clear rooms faster. They clear rooms cleaner. They move less. They roll less. They shoot with intention. And most importantly, they enter every room with a plan. Boss fights reveal this more clearly than anything else. New players dodge reactively. They roll through attacks. They rely on invulnerability frames. Experienced players barely roll at all. They sidestep. They preposition. They treat the arena like a map, not a trap. The boss doesn't kill you with bullets. It kills you by removing options. And every unnecessary roll removes one option before the attack even begins. This is the quiet truth of Enter the Gungeon. The game is less about execution and more about restraint. Most deaths feel sudden, but they are not. They are the result of momentum, habit stacking, decisions made automatically. The run doesn't end when you get hit. It ends when you stop thinking. And once you see this, the game changes completely. Rooms feel readable. Bosses feel slower. Difficulty stops spiking randomly. Not because the game got easier, but because you stopped making the first mistake. If you enjoyed this channel is about the moments games don't explain. But always remember, the small decisions, the quiet assumptions, the first mistakes. This was the first mistake. See you before the next one.